Alf, are we seeing money shift around in the sports card hobby? Stick around. What's going on, sports card hobby family? We are here. It is Friday. Who's ready for the weekend? Who's ready for football? Me over here. I'm ready for it. Gonna finally start cooling down here in North Carolina. Did the hot tub with my wife last night, and I'm ready for the fall season, ready for the fall weather. To get started in today's topic, we've got our Friday shout outs, Card Capsule. Guys, you want supplies, you want waterproof cases, and you don't want to spend an absolute fortune on them. 10% off in the links down below. Check out in the video description as well as in the pinned comments. It's like Groupon for the hobby. There's all sorts of different discount codes, affiliate codes down there for you to take advantage of. Card Capsule, 10% off with the code for all the good stuff. JustCollect.com is here. If you've got a collection to sell, you're just trying to figure out what is my stuff worth. They've got a really easy appraisal form on their website at JustCollect.com. And Leighton Sheldon has a great YouTube channel, the Just Collect YouTube channel, where he's talking through the collections that he's finding. It's good stuff, so make sure to check that out. Also, SlabMags, 10% off your SlabMags. Sports Card Dad code will give you 10% off. Color match these things, protect the autographs, UV protection. Slab companies don't guarantee awesome UV protection, so make sure you kind of double up here. Plus, just from a display standpoint, it doesn't get much better than a SlabMag, so make sure to check that out. All right, over the last couple of weeks, been talking a lot about new product coming out. Is there value there, or does it make sense to just kind of wait and buy the singles that you are looking for? I mean, for me, like outside of the massive hit stuff, which I know that that's kind of a fun chase, and if that's something you like to do, then absolutely fine. But I don't think that it's a bad thing to take a look at kind of, okay, what is the hobby budget? How much of it goes to, breaks or buying boxes, buying, packs, and then how much of it goes to singles? And maybe just trying to see like what makes the most sense. What makes the most sense from a risk standpoint? Am I getting the value back out of these boxes? Or can I just go online and buy singles of the players that I want? And I think that there is going to inherently be a shift in this behavior. A lot of people do say, hey, look, a lot of the breaking and stuff, that's how people get in. So it's kind of like a gateway into the hobby. And then they find singles, they find vintage cards and that sort of thing. Is that true? And this is kind of asking the audience too. How many people here are just kind of here for the big hit, and that's really their enjoyment? And then how many are, actually looking for certain teams or certain players, trying to collect certain cards? And the whole idea of getting into the break is like, okay, maybe I can buy the Chiefs and get the Mahomes card without spending a fortune on the Mahomes card, but the end game is getting the Mahomes card. And I guess that would be kind of interesting polling. I don't know how you would do that. That'd be kind of tough to, I think, actually get like a solid data set to help understand just the mentality, the psychology of the hobby right now. Because it is clear a lot of the excitement is around the new product that breaks. I mean, that's what the manufacturers, of course, are going to push because they're selling the new product. And every month they've got a new product to help kind of sell and promote. They want that new product to be promoted because they need to sell it. They need to sell it. But if you are a collector of cards or even a speculator of cards or whatever, at what point do you kind of move out of that stuff and just say, you know what, there's some really amazing Jordan cards or amazing Tom Brady or Derek Jeter or whatever the kind of your players are that you end up kind of moving to. Or I know a lot of people that have collected sets, collected the complete 86 Fleer basketball set or collected, 2000 Bowman Chrome football or whatever it is. They find like a set that they really like and they buy into that. How much of it too is people just getting out of, trying to find hits and just the enjoyment of kind of the lower end cards? How much of the hobby is going to or is shifting into just, I don't necessarily need to buy high end stuff. I actually just enjoy lower to mid end stuff. And I guess I also want to wrap in the fact that the Fed this week in the United States, they dropped rates for the first time in 3 or 4 years. They dropped it 0.5 point, which was pretty aggressive. They thought maybe it'd be 1/4 point, but then it was like, okay, they might do 0.5 point. And then there's speculation that they're going to drop it a couple more times kind of to round out the year. Typically what that means for assets, for asset classes, we're talking about stocks, bonds, real estate, whatever that is that's bullish for assets because it's cheaper to borrow money. I don't know if it's really necessarily a good thing. The cheaper it is to borrow the money, the weirder, and the more complex the financial stuff gets where people are lending out. When it's really cheap to lend money out, then you're going to get people that take a lot more risk on. It also means too that if you've got money that's sitting in a money market account, if they keep on lowering rates, right now it gives you a solid, 4.5%, 5%. If we go back to the way it was 3 or 4 years ago, where they lowered it down and you're getting 1 to 2% out of the money market account, what does that do if you are kind of more of, what does it do if you're the average Joe? But then also, what does that mean for high-end folks, high net worth folks? Because really for them, it's made a lot of sense over the last couple of years to just sit that thing in a money market and just let it run at 4.5%, 5%. And I'm pretty sure the ultra wealthy get a better deal from banks than the public would get, because they've got so much money. The bank, they're going to give the bank, hey, you can hold this money, you can then use it to lend out, but they usually probably get a better deal out of that in return. So, for them, it's just been kind of common sense. Like, hey, why are we playing around with assets when it could just sit there at 5% plus? And if you have a lot of money, that adds up pretty quickly, So what does this mean though? Are we shifting back more towards what we had going back a few years? Or does it not really mean a whole lot? There's still a lot of people that spend big money on cards and collectibles. The stock market has been moving upward, even without rate cuts. The stock market, what's the Dow sitting at? 41,000 or something? It's absolutely bonkers. It has continued to move up even in a higher interest rate environment, which is kind of counterintuitive to what we've seen in the past. And that's what I mean, I guess, is, what does it mean kind of moving forward? Nobody really knows, but I am curious to see, are there going to be people that have had money on the sidelines that have, deeper pockets, the whales, if you will? Are they going to say, you know what? Well, if I'm only going to get, a couple of percent, through this stuff, maybe it's time to go back into kind of some more alternative type stuff, store of value type stuff. And maybe cards is a small part of that. I'm not saying that means all of a sudden we're going to get some huge boost in card prices. And this is across the board, cards or graded comic books or, action figures. You'd be surprised what stuff sells for. A lot of these collectible spaces, there are collectors, speculators, investors, if you will, in quotation marks, that are in a variety of different categories, not just trading cards. So what do you all think? What do you all think is going to happen here? Are we going to see not even just people kind of buying a box, not really feeling good about it, and just saying, you know what, son or whatever, to their wife, I'm just going to buy individual cards? Or is this thing going to continue on? Do people just get enjoyment out of that? And that's kind of what they're going to do. And then also, what effect does the Fed and kind of moving more into a lower interest rate environment do for us? I think it's going to be an environment going back 5 years ago or so where you just had zero, like interest rates are basically zero. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think that they'll probably, drop it down as they have, but it's probably going to still be, hovering around where it is. Maybe they drop it a total of a point in 2024 as we head into 2025. It'll be really interesting though. To be honest, we've been in this black swan event going back from the pandemic. If you go back, we're talking $4 trillion that was moved into the economy to counter the pandemic. $4 trillion. If you look at the history of stimulus in the US, we have never even gotten close to anything. I was looking back, I think that Obama, if we go back to 2008, 2009 subprime mortgage crisis, they passed a huge stimulus bill back then, and I believe it was $700 or $800 billion. And I'd have to kind of double check that. And that was huge at the time. George W. also passed stimulus going back after 9/11, but it pales in comparison to what happened 3-4 years ago. So we're just in such a weird, uncharted water type environment. And so we'll have to see, guys. We will have to see. Is money moving around in the hobby to more of the single stuff, or are people just, hey, look, we're gonna keep on opening boxes and we're gonna keep on doing this dance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Stay healthy, stay awesome. Have a great weekend ahead.